Hello friends, good morning and welcome to this class, Geography. I hope you remember the classes, the topics we are dealing with wildlife and the forest life. So because of human activities, a lot of species have disappeared from this earth. They have either become extinct or somehow become endangered or some are in very serious danger of extinction. So government has taken some effort to provide habitat for these animals, to protect the forest and so on by creating national parks, national zoological garden and so on. So that is what we have been studying so far. Now let us see what another project or another step that government has taken to protect the tigers in our country. That is called Project Tiger. So the government started a program called Project Tiger in order to protect the tigers in our country. So tiger is one of the key wildlife species in the faunal world. So in the animal world, tiger is one of the most important species. In 1973, the authorities realized that the tiger population had dwindled. Dwindled means becoming smaller. The population has become smaller to 1,827. So in 1973, only 1,827 tigers were there. Only 1,827 tigers. From an estimated 55,000 at the turn of the century. So in the beginning of that 20th century, how many were there? 55,000 were there. So from 55,000 after 73 years, it came down so much, it reached 1,000. So you can imagine such a huge decline. From 55,000 within 73 years, it came down to 1,827. And the major threats to tiger population are numerous, such as poaching for trade, shrinking habitat, depletion of prey-based species, growing human population, etc. You can underline. What are the reasons why the tiger population has declined so much? What are they? As usual, hunting and poaching by the people. Then another one is lack of habitat, shrinking habitat. The area for them to take shelter is becoming smaller and smaller because of human encroachment. Forests are destroyed and so on. So tigers die away. Then depletion of prey-based species. So for tigers, they are not eating grass and other vegetables. They want to eat meat. So they used to kill away the small species, smaller animals and eat. So those species are also becoming less, like deer, rabbit, all those things. So they have become less and less, maybe killed by human beings. So since there is no sufficient animals to eat or not enough sufficient food for them to eat, they started dying. And also growing human population, as we said in the other class, the human population is growing, so we need more and more place for settling, we need more place for cultivation and so on. So slowly we are encroaching the forest, the habitat of the animals, and as a result their population is coming down. So that is a dangerous situation that we are creating for them. And the trade of tiger skins and the use of their bones in traditional medicines, especially in the Asian countries, left the tiger population on the verge of extinction. So people of the Asia, they believe that the tiger skins and the tiger bones, all these are medicinal. They start killing the tiger in order to take their skin and their bones in order to mix in the medicine. they believe that it is very useful for curing sicknesses and so on. So that way people went around killing the tigers and making use of their body parts. And since India and Nepal provide habitat to about two-thirds of the surviving tiger population in the world, these two nations become prime targets for poaching and illegal trading. So, out of the total tigers in the world, two-thirds is found in India and Nepal. So, in other parts of the world, only one-third is there. In India and Nepal together, we have two-thirds, that is almost 65 to 70% of the total tigers are found in India and Nepal. So since in India and Nepal so many tigers are there, people go for poaching or hunting. So India and Nepal become the target of these hunters. They come quietly to India or to Nepal to kill these tigers. And Project Tiger, one of the publicized wildlife campaigns in the world, was launched in 1973. So this program called Project Tiger, it is one of the programs to protect the tiger not only in India and in Nepal but in the whole world. So it was started in 1973. We can underline it was started in 1973, this project, and it is well famous. And initially it showed success as the tiger population went up to 4,002. So this tiger project program was started, and initially it became very successful. From 1827 it went to 4,002. So suddenly the number went up. It became 4,002. That was in 85. In 85, it became 4,000. So it was in 1973. Then after 12 years, it was increased. Almost it became double. We can say it became 4,000. And to almost it became double, or more than double. It became more than double. Then in 1989 it became 4,332. It became in 1989. So after 4 years the number increased again, 330 more increase. But in 1993, the population of the tiger had dropped again. But then it started coming down again. In the year 1993, it became 3,600. So from 4,332, it came down to 3,600. That means almost 700 plus tigers were missing or they lost life. Then there were 39 tiger reserves in India, covering an area of 32,137.1 square kilometers. Tiger conservation has been viewed not only as an effort to save an endangered species, but with equal importance as a means of preserving biotypes of sizable magnitude. So, India has taken steps, and as a result, 32,137.414 square kilometer area is kept as area reserved for tiger. These are forest areas and they are reserved for tiger forest. So the purpose of this tiger project is not only to save one endangered species but also to preserve these big size animals. Otherwise all the big animals are dying away, and at the end the earth will have only small animals. So in order to avoid that danger of losing all the big species, the government is taking initiative, and to a certain extent we can say they have become successful. Then Corbett National Park in Uttarakhand. So that is one of the tiger reserves. Corbett National Park, that is in Uttarakhand. Then Sundarbans National Park in West Bengal. Another tiger reserve is in West Bengal, that is called Sundarbans. You must have studied about Sundari trees, Sundarban forest. They have the trees are known as Sundari trees. And Bandhagarh National Park in Madhya Pradesh, another national park meant for tiger in Madhya Pradesh is called Bandhagarh. Then Sariska Wildlife Sanctuary in Rajasthan. Rajasthan also has got one tiger reserve, that is called Sariska Wildlife Sanctuary. Then Manas Tiger Reserve in Assam. Assam also has got tiger reserve called Manas. And Periyar Tiger Reserve in Kerala. So Periyar, that is in. So these are famous tiger reserve forests in India. So in so many states. Uttarakhand state there is Corbett National Park. Then in West Bengal we have Sundarbans. Then in Madhya Pradesh that we have Bandhagarh National Park. Then in Rajasthan there is Sariska Wildlife Sanctuary. Then in Assam there is Manas Tiger Reserve, and in Kerala there is Tiger Reserve. So these are the Periyar Tiger Reserve. These are the famous forest reserve meant for protecting the tigers. Then the conservation projects are now focusing on biodiversity rather than on the few of its components. And there is now a more intensive search for different conservation measures. Increasingly, even insects are beginning to find a place in conservation planning. So, India is now not only concerned about big animals but even small species like insects. India is planning to conserve them and protect them and preserve them so that they also will be part of this biodiversity. Then in the notification under Wildlife Act in 1918 and 1986, several hundred butterflies, moths, beetles and other dragonfly have been added to the list of protected species. So government brought the Wildlife Act, the law protecting the wildlife, in 2 years, one in 1980 and after 6 years again 1986 they brought out this Wildlife Act of the law about wildlife, and in that more species is added. They added several hundreds of butterflies. So butterflies are added into this reserve species. Then moth, small creatures, small insects, moths. Then beetles are also like butterflies, small beetles, small creatures, and dragonfly. So all these have been added into this list of protected species. So destroying them or killing them can be punishable. So this is how the government is taking initiative in order to protect the different types of species that are found in the world, because every new species that is added, that is adding to the beauty of this biodiversity in the nature. So that is very much important, and we also need to cooperate with the government to protect the different species and so on. So another one we said early, the gharial on the brink. So that is about to suffer extinction. The gharial, that is a kind of a bird species. So that is also trying to face this problem of extinction. So government is trying to find a solution to this problem in order to enrich our biodiversity. Then let us see types of distribution of forest and wildlife resources. So how these forests are distributed and the wildlife are distributed in different different parts of the country. Everywhere we go, you will not find same type of forest or same type of the wildlife. It will be different from place to place. Let us see the different distribution. So the forest and distribution. The distribution of forest and wildlife resources. So even if we want to conserve our vast forests and wildlife resources, it is rather difficult to manage, control and regulate them. In India, much of its forests and wildlife resources are either owned or managed by the government through the forest department or the government departments, and these are classified under following categories. So government has realized that this is a very important thing and very much necessary for our country to have this wildlife and the forest. Therefore it is not just leaving it free, but government, it is kept under the government control, and government has appointed officers, forest guard to look after this forest, protect and guide and protect, and so that it will continue to remain. If it is entrusted with private company, and so they may disappear, they may not take care of it, and so on. So government itself is taking in charge of all the forests in our country. Now let's see what are the different types of forests that are found in our country. One is called reserve forest. Reserve forest. So what is reserve forest? More than half of the total forest land has been declared reserve forest. So earlier we said we have so much of forest land is there, and more than half of that is government has declared this is reserve. No more encroaching, it is reserve. Reserve forests are regarded as the most valuable as far as the conservation of forests and wildlife resources are concerned. So among different types of forests, the reserve forests are the most valuable forests, so that the animals can freely live there, they can find their habitat there, and so on. So the conservation of forests and wildlife resources, we can find it easy and comfortable in this reserve forest. And the second type of forests are called protected forests. Protected forest. So almost 1/3 of the total forest area is protected forest. So earlier we said more than half of the forest is reserve forest. Now we can say 1/3 of the total forest area is considered as protected forest, as declared by the forest department. And this forest land are protected from any further depletion. So these forests are protected so that nobody will encroach, nobody will cut the trees, nobody will do garden there or mining there, and it is well protected, and security guards are there. Forest department has given security, so it is well protected. Then the third type of forest is unclassed forest. Unclassed forest. Let us see what is unclassed forest. These are other forests and wastelands belonging to both government and private individuals and communities. So unclassed means they are not officially classed as forest. This is simply wasteland. Nobody is making use of it. Some belonging to the government, some belonging to the private people, and nobody is making use of it. So some trees are simply growing there. So that is considered as unclassed forest. It is not officially declared as forest, but since it's a wasteland, simply remaining there, some trees are growing by itself, and so on. That is unclassed forest. So reserve and protected forests are also referred to as permanent forest estates maintained for the purpose of producing timber and other forest produce and for protective reasons. So this reserve forest and the protected forest, they are also referred to as permanent forest estates maintained for the purpose of producing timber and other forest produce. So this is reserved and this is protected. Both are also kept untouched so that it can also produce timber. When there is a need, government can you make use of it for the purpose of timber and so not for selling, not for business purpose, but for the work of the government. When there is enough and more trees or plenty of trees are there, or when they are too close, too thick, they need to cut and remove some and so on. So in that cases, it will be made use. And Madhya Pradesh has the largest area under permanent forest, constituting 75% of its total forest area. So Madhya Pradesh has got the maximum number of permanent forests. So they have the total, out of the total forest area, 75% of that is kept as permanent. No shifting, no cutting. It is kept as permanent forest. So among all the states, it is Madhya Pradesh who has got the maximum area kept as protected and permanent forest. And Jammu and Kashmir, Andhra Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal and Maharashtra have large percentages of reserve forest of its total forest area, whereas Bihar, Haryana, Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, Odisha and Rajasthan have a bulk of it under protected forest. So some states like Jammu and Kashmir, Andhra Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal and Maharashtra, they have large areas of reserve forests. So their forests are, most of them are reserved for these animals. Then some other states like Bihar, Haryana, Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, Odisha, Rajasthan, they have different types, that is their forests are called protected forests. And all northeastern states and parts of Gujarat have a very high percentage of their forests as unclassed forests managed by local communities. So we know in most of the northeastern states, most of the hills are covered by forests and they are not reserve forests or protected forests. They are unclassed forests. The trees are growing there because the land is free there, and it is maybe belonging to the community, to the village, to the chief, or some may be belonging to the private people and so on. So most of the hills in northeast is not belonging to the government. It belongs to the community, village, or to the people, and therefore it is not officially considered as forest, not reserve forest and not protected forest. If it is reserve forest or protected forest, nobody will be allowed to go for cutting trees from the hills, nobody will be allowed to go for hunting and so on. So these things are going on because it is this third type of forest, unclassed forest. Those the trees that are growing there are considered as unclassed forest. That's why they are able to cut the timber, catch the animals and so on. Now let's see what is the role of our community in reserving. So it is not the duty of government alone, or government alone cannot succeed in protecting this forest. We also need to do something. People also need to do something. Let us see what is our role. What can we do in order to preserve this forest and the wildlife. So what is the role of the community? Let us see. So conservation strategies are not new in our country. We often ignore that in India, forests are also home to some of the traditional communities. In some areas of India, local communities are struggling to conserve these habitats along with the government officials, recognizing that only this will secure their own long-term livelihood. So, in India, not only government is taking steps to form or protect the forest, but certain communities are also, especially in those communities, those tribes that are living in the forest or living in the border of the forest, for them this forest is so important. It is part of their life because they get all that they need from the forest, their food, their fruits, their medicine, and their firewood. Everything is coming from the forest. Therefore, they love this forest so much, and they don't want these trees to be cut. They don't want to destroy this forest, and they consider and love this forest as their own children, their own family members. And so, these people are also cooperating with the government. And if anybody come for hunting, if anybody come for cutting the trees, they inform the police, inform the security, and protect the trees, protect the forest and the animals. And Rajasthan villages have fought against mining by citing Wildlife Protection Act. So people came for mining in Rajasthan forest, and the people living there, they protested. We will not allow to do the mining in this forest because there is a law made by the government. The Forest Protection Act is there. So people, nobody is allowed to come to the forest for mining. So people chase them out. Then in Saritska Tiger Reserve, Rajasthan, villages have fought against mining by citing Wild Protection Act, and in many years villages themselves are protecting habitats and explicitly rejecting government involvement. So even government quietly closing their eyes. If those people, if they want, let them go and do the mining because government will get their share, government will get money. But people chase them out. People said there is a law that no mining should be allowed in the reserve forest, and so people chase them out. And the habitants of 5 villages in Alwar district of Rajasthan have declared 1,200 hectares of forest as Bairodev Dakha sanctuary, declaring their own set of rules and regulations which do not allow hunting and are protecting the wildlife against any outside encroachment. So the people there are very smart. They are trying to protect this forest. So not a small area, 1,200 hectares of land. These people, Rajasthan people, especially belonging to 5 villages, they are protecting. They are not allowing anybody to enter. They are not allowing anybody to do mining. They are not, even the government tried to do, but the people did not allow. The people remain united, strong, and chase out those who came to destroy the forest. So that is the strength of the people. So much of love and devotion that they have in order to protect this forest, because they love the forest and they continue to keep up the forest because it is their part of their life. And there are also sacred groves, a wealth of diverse and rare species. So apart from this forest, there are also a lot of species, lot of small plants are there. So nature worship is an age-old tribal belief based on the premise that all creations and nature have to be protected. And such beliefs have preserved several virgin forests in the pristine form called sacred groves, the forests of God and goddesses. And these patches of forest or parts of large forests have been left untouched by the local people, and any interference with them is banned. So some of the people have got this nature worship. They think that the trees, the animals, the snakes, they are all special forms of God, and so they worship these trees, they worship the animals, and so they cannot think about destroying these trees or animals. They protect them. They are ready to do anything in order to protect them. So Those people, those nature worshippers, they are also doing their level best in order to preserve this forest because it is based on their belief. And certain societies revere a particular tree which they have preserved from time immemorial. So some communities have got attachment to certain trees. They think this tree is the place where God is resting, and so such kind of religious belief that they have from many years ago onwards, from their forefathers onwards, this belief is being carried on forward, and so they believe that it is the place of God, therefore they do not allow anyone to destroy it. For example, the Mundas and the Santhal of Chota Nagpur region worship Mahua and Kadampa trees. So two tribes belonging to Chota Nagpur area, the Mundas tribe and the Santhal tribe. They are worshipping the trees. One group worship Mahua, another one is worshipping Kadampa. So they will never think about cutting these trees or destroying these trees because they consider this tree as their god and they are worshipping this tree. And the tribals of Odisha and Bihar worship the tamarind tree and mango trees during weddings. So another two tribes, one is the tribals of Odisha and Bihar. They are worshipping trees, especially during the wedding ceremonies. When there is wedding ceremony, they will be given special prayer to this tree. They will go and pray to this tree, or sometime marriage will be done just under this tree, and so on. What are the trees they worship? Tamarind tree and mango tree. So to many of us, people and banyan trees are considered sacred, and for many people in India, they consider this banyan tree as sacred or maple tree as the sacred tree. So for all these people, the trees are a part of their life. They consider it as a sacred trees, and they want to worship that tree, protect that tree, and so on. Then Indian society comprises several cultures, each with its own set of traditional methods of conserving nature and its creations. Sacred qualities are often ascribed to springs, mountain peaks, plants, and animals which are closely protected. So, Indian society comprises of several cultures. We have got each community or each tribe has got their own culture, and therefore their own belief is there. And so, they want to protect the nature, they want to protect the different mountains, the springs. Sometimes they think this spring is from God, or this mountain is a place where God is resting. So they have that kind of religious beliefs are there. Accordingly, they protect and preserve these places. It is very sacred for them. And you will find troops of makakis and langurs around many temples. So you will find many makak. What is makaki? It's a type of monkey. So if you go to some Hindu temples, you will find plenty of monkeys are there. So they think monkeys as God and keep them in the temples. And they are fed daily and treated as part of the temple devotees. So they'll give food to these monkeys daily, and as the people come to the temple to worship, they expect the monkeys also to come to the temple, and they treat them very nicely. And in and around Bishnoi villages in Rajasthan, herds of blackbuck and nilgai and peacocks can be seen as an integral part of the community, and nobody harms them. So if you go to Rajasthan, the villages like Bishnoi village, we will find a lot of black bucks are there. It's a kind of deer, type of deer. You will find they are freely moving around. Nobody will do any harm to them. They are so friendly with them. And another animals like nilgai or birds like peacock and so on. There is nobody doing any harm to them. They are freely loved by the people, protected by the people, saved by the people. Nobody think about killing them and eating them, but they are protected, they are loved so much, and so on. The farmers' Chipko movement in the Himalayas has not only successfully resisted deforestation in several areas but has also shown that community afforestation with indigenous species can be enormously successful. So there is a movement of the people called Chipko movement, and that is in the Himalaya areas. So what are they doing? They have successfully resisted deforestation. So when people came to cut the trees, these people, this movement, this association, they chased them out, they sent them back, not allowed to cut any trees. And attempts to revive the traditional conservation methods or developing new methods of ecological farming are now widespread. So government is trying to spread the awareness among the people how we must cultivate the ecological way without doing harm to the nature. And farmers and citizen groups like Beach Bachao Antolan in Tagri and Navadanya have shown that adequate levels of diversified crop production without the use of synthetic chemicals are possible and economically viable. So people have learned the bad effects of chemicals, synthetic chemicals, and people started cultivating with the natural manures, natural fertilizers, and without using these chemicals. So some associations are there in order to help the people, educate the people, and to show them that they will be able to communicate, they will be able to cultivate with the use of natural manure as well. For example, Beach Bachao and Toilet, that is one organization. Another one is Navdhanya. They all have cultivated using this natural manure and they have become successful. They said just become helpful and not very expensive. It is not a loss. And in India, Joint Forest Management, that is JFM, program furnishes a good example for involving local communities in the management and restoration of degraded forests. So there is a committee or management called Joint Forest Management, and they are trying to make programs, arrange programs in order to save the forests that are getting destroyed, almost that are destroyed. They are trying to restore it. The program has been in formal existence since 1988, when the state of Odisha passed the first resolution for joint forest movement. So it was Odisha state that passed the resolution that we will make joint forest management in order to help the forests that are getting dried up, the trees that are getting dried up. We plant more trees and try to revive that forest. And JFM depends on the formation of local village institutions that undertake protection activities mostly on degraded forest lands managed by the forest department. And in return, the members of these communities are entitled to intermediary benefits like non-timber forest products and share in the timber harvested by successful production. So the people who are working or joining this movement called joint forest management, they have to go and work in this forest by planting new trees. When some trees are drying up, they have to plant new trees. So they will be given some reward. They can collect fruits from the tree or other like honey and other things they can take from the forest without destroying the forest. And when there is some dried trees are cut, they will be given that for firewood or for making timber, furniture and so on. So such a kind of benefits are there, no monetary benefit. So they are voluntary offering. Whether they get or not, they are not worried. They are ready to help this forest, to revive this forest, and sometimes they are given fruits, other honey, other forest products and so on. So the clear lesson from the dynamics of both environmental destruction and reconstruction in India is that local communities everywhere have to be involved in some kind of natural resource management. So from these examples that we learn, wherever the local people are involved in protection of the forest, that side forests are safe. they are not destroyed, the animals are safe there. So same way, everywhere the local people have to be involved in protecting the forest together with the police, the security persons. Then from outsiders, the hunters and the poachers will not be able to come and destroy the forest or the animals. So we need the protection, we need the support of the local people there. But there is still a long way to go before local communities are at the center stage in decision making. But most of the local people we know, they are not involved in decision making. Government will make one decision, and sometimes the people are not aware about it. So we have to bring those local people also to the government offices and should sit together, discuss together, and make them also responsible for protecting the forest. Then they will be more happy to take active part in this protection of the forest. And so that is left to the government, what they can do, how they can do, and so what steps they can do together with the help of the people. And accept only those economic or developmental activities that are people centric, environment friendly, and economic rewarding. So government has to make sure that when they make a policy, they have to make sure that it is economic or developmental activities, and it has to be people centric. So whatever activity government is doing, it should be people centric. So not meant for bringing profit to the government, but we have to make sure whether it is doing harm to the people or not. We have to make sure that it is not doing harm to the environment and so on. So always it should be people centric, centered around the people, and environment friendly. Whatever work, whatever development activities, whatever economic activity government is doing, they should make sure that it is environment friendly. It is not destroying the environment. They have to make sure it, and it should be economically rewarding. So after doing all the work, after digging all that area, they cannot say, oh, nothing is there, it's a waste. So forest is lost, the people's land is lost, everything is lost. So that should not happen. So government has to plan out nicely, and they have to make sure after doing this work here, developmental work here, there should be economic reward should be there for the people, for the government, development should be there, and people should not be affected, and the environment should not be affected, and so government has to make sure that. So let us wind it up with a few quotations from Gautama Buddha. The tree is a peculiar organism of unlimited kindness and benevolence, and makes no demand for its sustenance, and extends generously the products of its life activity. It affords protection to all beings, offering shade even to an axeman who destroys it. So Gautama Buddha is talking about the benevolence of a tree, how gentle a tree is. So it is not showing any hatred towards anybody. It is showing its kindness to everybody, giving shade to the people, giving fruits to the people. And tree is not asking the people, give me that, give me this, nothing. Tree is freely giving to everyone. Even one who is coming with the axe to cut down the tree, to that fellow also it is giving shade, it is giving protection. So tree is so generous, so gentle, and so we must learn to love the tree, we must learn to protect the tree, and we must allow more and more trees to be grown up. So that is how we can take care, extra care, in order to protect our forest, our environment, and so on. So we wind up this lesson here, and I'll be giving you a few question answers as well, and together with that I will be preparing the question answers, and you have to, as usual you have done before, you have to write it down and take a photo and send it to me, and I will check and send it back to you. So you can also tick the multiple choice of questions there. I'll just read it out, you can tick in your textbook. The first one, which of these statements is not valid reason for the depletion of flora and fauna? The answer is number C, grazing and fuel wood collection. The second one is, Which of the following conservation strategies do not directly involve community participation? The answer is number D. Demarcation of wildlife sanctuaries. Then the second question is match the following. So in the first column it is given black buck, Asiatic elephants, Andaman wild pig, Himalayan brown bear, pink-head duck, and the answer will be black buck will be endangered. Then Asiatic elephant will be vulnerable. Then Andaman wild pig will be endemic. Himalayan brown bear will be rare. Then pink-head duck will be extinct. Then number 3 also is match the following. So first one, reserve forest, that will be the second one. Forests are regarded as most valuable as far as the conservation of forests and wildlife resources. Second one is protected forest. The answer is the last one. Forest lands are protected from any further depletion. Then the third one is unclassed forest. That is the first answer is first one. Other forests and wastelands belonging to both government and private individuals and communities. So that is the answer. The rest I will write and send it to you. You can copy it down. So thank you for listening. Have a nice day. Bye.